Hello, welcome to the DraftCast. The 2021-2022 season has now begun, and this is the very first DraftCast episode at the start of a season. So we're going to go back to our roots and have our very first guest back as well. So, James Oram, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you, Luke. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Looking forward to getting into producing these podcasts again after a bit of a summer break, shall we say?
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? The last one you did.
Yeah.
But wasn't live, would have been in the Euros? Before the Euros?
Yeah, it was a long... I think we just before the end of the last season, I think it was. So yeah, it was quite a few months ago now. But yeah, we've had a couple of live episodes in between. One with Adam, and then we did the draft day last week, which probably wasn't the most interesting thing to watch live. It was quite...
No, the best bit was your face drafting Gylfi Sigurdsson.
Thank you. Thanks for reminding me. He was gone
Do you want to talk us through that choice?
Well,
why?
Well, I think I was saying to you the other day, wasn't I? I was like, A, I forgot that happened, and B, I never saw anything to say who the actual player was at Everton that had been suspended. So I just couldn't, it just totally left my mind about it. And really, he should be red flag. If he's not playing and can't play, why is he not a red flag? Why is he even in the game?
I feel like you've had a long time to think about that response.
Yeah. But it's funny because I was talking to Max the other day about something else, but then he messaged me saying, I'm so glad you did that because I almost did it the draft round before. So I'm glad I wasn't the only one thinking about it. Never mind.
Oh, God.
That was funny. It was funny.
No, it was good. It was good. Chaos. It was absolute chaos, though.
Yeah. And because I was 12 pick as well, after my two goes, seeing it say, you have 22 turns to wait, I was like, this is ridiculous.
It was a long time.
Yeah. Although I feel like I've done okay still, so I'm quite happy with who I've got so far. Although my game week hasn't reflected that, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, KDB's come back at week 1, so imagine he hadn't gone, you hadn't picked him up, somebody else would have picked him up as well.
Yeah.
I can't believe he didn't go in the first round. I know you were going to pick JDB first, but that was madness.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll talk a bit about the draft later.
Yep.
And do a bit of a review of that. So we'll start with what we normally always start with is a quick review of our game week scores for this week. So game week 1. I don't think we really expected to see Max at the top, did we, this week? But fair play to him. And I hope his momentum continues because it would be bloody brilliant to see Max stay at the top of the league. But he just does 11 game weeks now, just beats Tom's record from game week 1.
Well, we all want to see that. That's really what the league's about. It's not about winning. It's just about getting 11 game weeks at the top now. So yeah. He's 1 week down, 10 to go. No, he's actually got a relatively all right team. I mean, there's a couple of questionable ones in there. Joe Linton for one, Richie for another. But I mean, pretty consistent. Apart from his forwards, he's got points in goal, points in defence, and points in midfield. I mean, Pogba and Alonso pulling it out of the bag is probably not going to happen every week. But 16 points from Pogba, 4 assists in 1 game is pretty mammoth. So I'm not going to lie, Max. I was not expecting you to be top of the league, but especially when your draft glitched and they didn't even manage to draft your first pick and it did it for you. But 6 points on the board. No surprise that Will's in second, I guess, especially looking at his team. Drafting Salah, it's always going to happen. But some pretty good scores for the first game week. I know we've had a lot of the players in the league in teams now because having 12 of them, but there's some pretty high scoring weeks because I think we had to expect the average game weeks going to be less than last year. So probably sort of high 30s. So anything above that's pretty solid. The first game week's always chaos because you don't know who's actually going to play. You can look at all the pre-season stuff, probably other than Leeds, you don't know who's actually going to start.
No, exactly.
So they've done some big scores in there, some big scores. Some low scores as well.
And I wonder if that's going to be more common this time round, whether there's going to be more points disparity between the top and between more people. So maybe last season we had a lot more people closer to the average, but maybe this season we might see more of a range between the highest scores of the week and the lowest scores of the week. But yeah,
I think so. I think those first
to find
three
out.
picks are going to tell quite quickly. I think that the three that went first and got the biggest three players in the league, you would not be surprised to see them nearer the top towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
Just because those players, there's sort of 3 or 4 in the league that are another level, of which Salah is one of them, Kane is the other, and Fernandes, who also scored a hat-trick and got. I think, was he the only one? I know. Plus, I think he was the only one in Ben's team that scored more than 2, but Pereira scored 12. So, no, 2 big names performing on the first game week, justifying their choice in the draft.
Yeah.
No, some good scores. I only got 35, which I think is probably, I wouldn't be surprised if sort of 35, 37, 38, where me, Lawrence, and Jack are probably the average scores I'd expect this year. Just because, as we said, more players, everyone's got slightly weaker teams.
Well, yeah.
So I think we're probably hitting around the average. I think probably below Jack is probably less than average, and below Lawrence is probably above based on last year's scores. So all done pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, only time will tell, won't it, as to what the average ends up being. But
yeah, and I mean, I actually think you've had the best game week, to be fair.
What, to be bottom?
Yeah, given Lukaku's joined the league, that you've played an absolute blinder there.
Yeah, I meant to do that. Yeah.
I presume you're drafting Lukaku. I presume that's no secret.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, you might as well not bother put him on your list, Jim.
I presume for Benteke?
Yeah.
So you've done well there. Done very well.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to see if it pays off, but yeah, I mean, I'm not too fussed at the moment.
I mean, if you want to leave him for me, I'm happy with that.
No, I'm taking him. I'm just saying I'm not too fussed if I don't end up rocketing to the top of the league.
I mean, you should do.
But, yeah, and we've also had the first Community Shield, haven't we?
We have, which was, I was getting all excited when I got the penalty taker list through from both Will and Jack, but turned out to be a bit of a whitewash, really, and it wasn't even close. I mean, what was the scores? 30, yeah, so even if Salah hadn't have played, Will would have still won, which says a lot about Jack's performance this week.
Yeah.
So Will had a couple of, he had 2 clean sheets. Well, no, sorry, a clean sheet and a goal in defence. 2 goals. 2 goals and assists? No. Goal and 2 assists from Salah. Then Sarr, I think, got a goal. Yeah, he did. And then Ings and Wilson both scoring. So he had a very solid week.
Yeah.
And Jack didn't have a bad week, to be fair. I think 37 was a respectable score, but just not as strong. And also his round 1 pick not playing is not good for me. I think he's ill, but no one really knows what's wrong with him. But yeah, it could have been closer. It would have been nice to see the first sort of cup tie against penalties. So hopefully that will happen at some point this year. But congrats to North Day. Yet another piece of silverware. Kate's delighted, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course he will be. He'll find some other symbol to put in his name to
oh god,
to put that there. There'll be 2 asterisks and 2 other things for the shield and
the 2 cups.
Cup, yeah.
I mean, hopefully now he's won his silverware for the season, so it will stop. But he started strong. He started very strong. And also George, to be fair, I hadn't mentioned George. George with 57 as well.
Yeah. But he did this last year, don't forget. He did go to top for the first game week last year and then drop down. So I don't think we can take much from this first game week. It's the first game week. Anything could have happened, really, couldn't it? So.
And it did all go wrong last year when he drafted in the Arsenal players, and he's already got 3 in his team this year. So, yeah, it can only go downhill from here for George.
There you go, Adam. Go knock on George's door. He'll have Leno off you again.
That's true. George does hoard the Arsenal players.
Yeah.
So it was a good cup. And I guess it was a good cup final as much as there was. At least it was, not 18 versus 19 or something. It was a big score from Will that won it. Justified win.
Yeah.
No controversy this time.
No.
Nice clean final and all that.
Yeah, definitely. Right, let's move it on to the coming game week waivers. So you've already touched on Lukaku, which obviously will be joining expected to lose. Are there any other players you've got your eye on that you think people should be putting on their list?
I've only got, so I haven't got all these on my list, but I've only got, I think, 7 players that I'd be looking at drafting at the moment. So the first one's obviously Lukaku. I mean, he'd be if he would have been in the draft and I'd gone first, I'd have picked him in first over everybody probably. Maybe Salah, but probably would have gone Lukaku just because Chelsea seem to create so many chances and just don't finish them, and he's just so good. So
yeah,
I'd have gone for him first. The other obvious one, which will not get past Rich, I'm sure, is Adam Armstrong. So Southampton's new striker. And Rich desperately needs a striker. Looking at Rich's team, I mean, Tammy's left, so he's already got a player that's not in the league anymore.
Yeah,
and then who else has he got? He's got Daka, who didn't get any minutes at the weekend, who might do throughout the season, and then Pedro, who's red flagged with an unknown return date. So, yeah, Rich desperately needs something up top that isn't a 0-pointer. So, Armstrong, I'm sure, will go to Rich, and then the other obvious one is Varane, which I'm sure will then go to Tolly, because I think Tolly could probably put him in his defence. So, where is Tolly? Yeah, he's got Cash, Firpo, Veltman. So I imagine one of those will be off to agency, probably Veltman. And he'll be bringing in Varane. So after that, there's really not that many obvious picks. So the 4 I've got down are, so based on their runs more than anything. So Spurs have got an all right set of games coming up. And Doherty seems to have lost his place to a centre-back in Tanganga, who looked really good, to be fair, against Sterling and Grealish. So I imagine he will keep his place. And given their run, I wouldn't be surprised if he got picked up by somebody who may have injured defenders or need a defender. Maybe even Eric Dyer might get picked up for the same base. I mean, they've got Wolves, Watford and Palace next.
Yeah.
So 3 games you'd expect them to win and probably keep a clean sheet, at least one of those. There's a couple of short-term options from Liverpool. So they've got a couple of easy games, especially next week. They've got Burnley, then they have got Chelsea, but then they've got Leeds, Palace, Brentford. So you'd expect them to win 4 out of those 5 quite comfortably. And with Robertson out, you've got Simicast, as they say, at left back, who's taken his place, and also Matip started at the weekend. So it's difficult to know who's going to start there because they've got Van Dijk, who you'd assume is going to start every game, and then they've got Matip, Joe Gomez, and Canate. So bit of a lottery who's going to start there, but Matip could be one to pick up as well on the same basis of Simicast. And then I don't really know who else I'd go for. The only other one, maybe, just because Everton have got on paper, a pretty good run coming up, and Townsend's in the agency, and he's probably going to start for Everton because they've got Leeds, Brighton, Burnley, Villa, Norwich. So they've got pretty good 5 games for Everton. You expect them to pick up quite a few points there. So that could be another potential one. But beyond that, it's really hard to say. Because I guess got one game where you're not sure who's actually going to start for the teams. But as you say, the Brentford players, they've got Palace, Villa, Brighton next. So they've got, on paper, a relatively good 3 for them. So if you knew he was going to start, you could pick up maybe a midfielder from them. But I think Tom's got the best one in Canos. I think Silva's out for a while. Who was the other one I was looking at? I don't know whether I'd go for their defenders or not. I don't know whether they're actually, Arsenal just look pretty bad, so I don't know how good their defence actually is. So it'll be interesting to see how well they do in the next game against Palace, who aren't that good either, but it'll be interesting to see how that sort of pans out. But yeah, there's actually not that many I'd go for in agency. And then I have got another one that I'm looking at drafting in, but I don't know when you're releasing the pod, so I don't want to give all my secrets away.
Yeah, it will probably be out before Friday, so maybe not the best idea.
Yeah, so there's one player that I'm looking at. Well, I don't know who, because I'm forced, but I presume I would get them unless Tolly went for them. But I don't know why he would, because then he'd lose Varane. So I can probably say it, because the only person who's going to take it would be Tolly, because you're going to take Lukaku. If Rich doesn't take Armstrong, he's dead in the water. So Tolly's going to take Varane, I'd assume. The other one I'm looking at is Lingard. Because there's quite a lot of rumours he's moving back to West Ham. So I'm willing to gamble that he does. And just drop probably Traore for him and just see what happens. And if he doesn't move, just pick somebody up from agency and just have someone who's rotatable. But that's who I'm probably going to go for. If Tolly goes for him, I'll get him for Varane. So, it's not the end of the world. So, yeah, that's who I'm going to go for. That's my pick. This is who I'm going to get in, hopefully.
Fair dues.
And if not, as I say, I'll get Armstrong or Varane. Unless you suddenly don't take Lukaku.
No, I am taking Lukaku, Jim. Don't you worry about that. I am.
I'm still gonna. He's still going on my list, top, just in case.
No, honestly, he's at
you,
my top now.
Could just you could put him at the bottom now, and then everyone will go, oh yeah, Luke's drafting him, and then you won't draft him until second pick or something. No. Maybe you'll end up with Armstrong and Lukaku.
Could you imagine though? No, that just wouldn't happen.
Yeah. Anyway, they're not moving from my list. Lukaku's going in top just in case you make a mistake or something.
I'm looking at it right now. He's at my top.
No,
I've
still not taking him out.
Yeah, I've got a few defenders and midfielders lined up.
Any of the ones I just mentioned?
No, actually. Oh, Matip actually is on my list.
Yeah, I think he's on. I know somebody else who probably go for him.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just trying to get rid of Traore, Cooper, and White basically. So I've just got a load lined up to.
I'd be tempted to keep White.
I don't
Which
know.
Traore?
Aston Villa. Yeah.
Interesting.
He's out, isn't he? He's out for a few weeks.
Could swap Traores.
No,
I've got Wolves one. Unbelievable. No, that's who that's on my agency list. So yeah, Armstrong, Lukaku, Varane, and Lingard, and then maybe a couple of options of Tanganga, Matip, Tsimikas, and possibly Townsend. But God knows, especially with Liverpool, you don't know how long Robertson's actually going to be out for. So Tsimikas could be a pretty good pickup for somebody. And I imagine there will be someone going for him, either Tolly, who likes to go for that sort of short-term defender, or definitely somebody else. So, yeah, that's who I'd go for.
Okay. Well, it'll be interesting to see how those go on Friday. And
well, I'm hoping well, we've seen where Lukaku's going, and we know where Armstrong's going, so it'd be interesting who I get if Tolly goes for Lingard for some reason over Varane, and then whoever else picks up, because they're speaking to a couple of them, they're saying they've got nobody on their list except Lukaku because there's nobody they want. Obviously not getting Lukaku because if it gets past you, it's not getting past Rich or Tolly or me. So.
He's not, Jim. Honestly, he's top of my list. He's going to be mine.
But you would say that. I don't believe it.
I am saying that. I could share my screen with you right now and show you if you want it.
Yeah, but then you'll change it afterwards.
No, why would I do that though?
As you evidence this top, so no, I don't need to get him now. Luke's time.
No, I'm not throwing this away, Jim. He's joining us. He's joining expected to lose. Okay, right. We're going to do something we haven't done for a very long time, actually, on the DraftCast, and that is some predictions for game week coming up. So game week 2. Let's look at which team you think's going to do well this week out of our guys, and then which player do you think's going to score well, or a few players if you like.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of who in our league I think will do well this week, it's difficult. There's 2 I'd probably plump for. So I would either look at probably Ben, on the assumption that Fernandes could do whatever he wants to against Southampton. He's also got Mahrez, and they're home against Norwich, I think it is, off the top of my head. Yeah, City are home against Norwich. And Mahrez does, as we experienced last season, pop up with random hat-tricks here and there. And if he's playing, I think City will shred Norwich, especially after losing the first game 1-0. So he's got 2 players there, I think, who could score goals for fun this weekend. But if I had to pick somebody who's going to score the highest in the team, it's difficult to look past Will, unfortunately. I think he's got Salah at home against Burnley. He's also got, if Konate starts, he's got 2 Liverpool defenders starting against Burnley. He's also got Konza starting at home against Newcastle. I mean, he has got Wilson and Willock who are against sort of Villa, but yeah, I find it difficult to look past him with Salah for one. Just his Liverpool core there, I think if Konate starts to drag him through that, He's also got Ings starting at home against Newcastle. He's already scored one this season. I think he's just got points potentially all over the board. And then Watford as well, Brighton. I think they're Brighton. They look pretty decent going forward. I know they're against sort of Villa. And Villa didn't play particularly well, but difficult with promoted teams. They always start the first couple of games really, really strong. So I've had to choose a team. I'd say Will. And if I had to choose a player, I'd probably say Salah. So I think Will twice there.
Yeah.
Other option is possibly. No, I probably can't say Jack.
Why not?
Just because it rely on Grealish too much. Just depends whether Jimenez and Max. If I'm saying Villa are going to do well, that means ASM probably won't. Where are Wolves? Or what Wolves are. Home against Spurs, a bit different game. Yeah, I'm saying Will and Salah.
Okay. Well, I agree with you with Will. That's who I was going to pick. And then player-wise, I'll probably, I mean, you've already said Fernandes. He probably will shred us one on Sunday. So, yeah. But I would quite like to see. I mean, presumably Lukaku will play on Sunday.
Oh yeah, they're talking about him starting. So they got
Arsenal, yeah.
Chelsea, Arsenal. Yeah, I mean, he could score 5 against Arsenal based on what we saw against Brentford.
That would be brilliant. His first game in the Premier League.
To be fair, actually, yeah, I sort of overlooked your team there. But if you've got Chilwell potentially starting, if Kevin De Bruyne starts, and Lukaku, you've got De Bruyne at home against Norwich, Lukaku at Arsenal, Chilwell, Maddison, who's Leicester against West Ham. Yeah. You never know.
I know. I feel like I've got the makings of a decent team, but just need them to
Mings
perform.
At the back, Cookie Buffini.
Chilwell didn't even play, so it's not.
Yeah, I'm happy to take Chilwell off your hands if you want to.
Of course you are.
Draw star. We can do a trade now if you want. Let's do the first trade live on the draft. Come on, Luke.
Yeah, but it won't be live for everyone else. It's just pre-recorded.
Yeah, it will be for us.
No,
come on.
No, I'm not doing it.
But, yeah, I'd probably go for Will, and then possibly you or Ben. I mean, I feel bad overlooking Max now after his big week. But
yeah, but it's all on 2 players really. It's there's not really any other players that have really performed this week.
I just don't know who's going to start with Chelsea. I mean, Mendy will start, but then Alonso, you'd assume, will start. James might not start. Werner might not start. Bamford will start. Pogba, I don't think he's going to get 4 assists again. I think Chelsea will probably keep Arsenal very quiet, so whether Pepe will do much. But yeah, I'd say Will. I have to go around the houses a bit. Will and Salah.
Okay, yeah. I think we're agreed on that one. Right then. And as always, we'll move on to the guest segment. So, which is just going to be us talking about the draft, isn't it, really? And who you think's done a good draft and that.
Yeah, I was just going to look. I haven't looked through some of the teams. I was just going to say who sort of 2 or 3 teams I think drafted the best. I think the teams that we'd expect to see. Well, who I think is going to win or who should win, and then who I think could win, and then who's drafted pretty well. So, Will, frustratingly, I think has drafted well again. So he's obviously got Salah, who went 3rd, which was a bit of a shock to him. I think he's expected to pick at Fernandes or Kane, but he ended up with Salah, who's obviously a monster, and then he's actually got 2 decent strikers in wings, Wilson and Ings, which yes, they're both injury prone, but they both just score goals. They've always scored goals in the Prem. So he's got 2 solid goal scorers there. You never know what's going to happen with Josh Sargent. So he could start starting for Norwich, and he'd have 3 playing strikers there, which is a bit of a blessing, really, given some of us in the league got no strikers, Richard. So yeah, I think he's drafted well. He's also got Saka, who had a good season last season, played the Euros pretty well, and I think is probably Arsenal's best player behind Aubameyang at the moment. Because Aubameyang is Aubameyang. They had a bad season last year, but he's always done well. And hopefully, for Jack anyway, last season was an off season. So then he's got Alisson and Robertson. I know Robertson injured, but he'll come back. And if Kante starts, he's suddenly got 3 of the back 5 for Liverpool and Salah in front. So I think he's drafted very, very well, actually. Then one I think that's gone a little bit under the radar potentially is Tolly. So he's got. I know he drafted Firmino, who will probably be rotated this season, but he's got 3 good strikers in the league. As much as Firmino does still score points, even though he doesn't score goals. Antonio, who's a bit of a weapon, although he does always pull his hammy, and then Kane, who is Harry Kane. And if he moves to City or stays at Spurs, he's going to score goals. So I think Tolly's got 3 good strikers there from 3 good teams, i.e., teams that should finish in the top half and be challenging for the top 6 places. And then he's got Harrison and Zaha behind, who will play week in, week out for their teams. 2 of the sort of best players for their teams. And he's got Rashford to come back from injury. I know he's holding on to him for the first 3 months. So he's out till at least the 16th of October, they're expecting. So he's got the rest of this month, September, and then half of October. But it's a good player to bring back. And then Moore looks like he's going to be starting, at least for now, for Spurs. It's just his defence that's a bit shaky. But if he brings in Varane, we'll suddenly have Varane, Walker, and Kufal and Edison in goal with Cash and Firpo as backup. So I think Tolly's actually got a deceptively good team. The less said about Rich is the better, unfortunately.
Oh dear.
I mean, his strikers aren't going to play much. Ziyech is out and may not play. Presume Dan James will not keep his place for that long. So he's relying on Sancho, who's unproven in the Prem, but is a good player in the Bundesliga. Stones weirdly didn't start at the weekend. So, I mean, that's probably a bit harsh. It's not that bad. He's got Roberto Shaw lost. Roberto Shaw lost? Yeah, as well. So, it's not that bad. Not that bad. But yeah, I think Will's drafted very well. Tolly's drafted well. And if I had to plump for a third, who I think should be in the top 3 based on the draft alone, I think Lawrence drafted relatively well, actually. So he's got Mane, he's got Greenwood, and he's got Tielemans, all who last year did pretty well. Mane underperformed last year, but is actually a solid player. McGinn plays week in, week out for Villa, so he's got a solid starter there as a 5th midfielder, and he's got Mbuemo from Brentford, who looks in the Championship pretty good for Brentford. So he's got a good midfield 5 there who are going to play. Greenwood might get rotated a bit, but I think he's actually going to play up top when Cavani's not playing, so he's got a midfielder playing as a striker. And then he's got the cover for if they don't play with Cavani and Martial. He's also got Gomez, who's a rotation option for Liverpool. And then he's got Bertrand and Vestergaard, both from Leicester, Lloris and Diaz, Bellerin. So I think Lawrence is actually drafted well as well.
Yeah.
So I'd be saying those 3 if I couldn't choose myself, because obviously I've drafted the best.
Yeah, of
I'd
course
say
you're going to
those
say
3.
that, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I had probably. My team's pretty average. I'd expect to come mid-table in my team. Anything above that, a blessing. I think 10th is the worst pick this year. So I had it uphill from the start. Anything above bottom is a real success for us this year.
There's a long way to go. There's a long way to go, Jim.
But the team I think that should win is actually none of the ones I mentioned. Which is interesting.
Is none of the ones that you've just mentioned. Did you just say?
No. So the team that I think should win comfortably is your team.
Really?
Yeah. Because you've got Kevin De Bruyne, who is normally a first 4 pick, and then Lukaku, who would be a first 2 pick. So in a league where you've got 12, and by the time you got past the big 6 players, you're already drafting sort of the second tier down, because you've got the 3 monster players in Salah, Fernandes, and Kane. Then you've got a couple of elite players like De Bruyne, Sterling, Mane, maybe Sancho, and then the rest drop off a bit, maybe to Vardy. I mean, I picked up DCL as well, but you've then got Lukaku going in, who would be a number 1 or 2 pick. So you've got 2 absolute monsters in the space of people getting 24. So if you looked at who people drafted second, one sec. So by the time it got to Ben for his second pick, he was picking Mahrez, Lawrence picked Cavani, Tom picked Iheanacho. I mean, there's some real questionable second picks in there. And you've picked up James Ward-Prowse, set piece taker, Madison, set piece taker, Lukaku, absolute demon, Kevin De Bruyne. Can't look past you, can you?
My defense is something to be needs a lot of work though.
Yeah, it does. But you've got 3 strikers who will play. You've got Chris Wood, who will score goals in the Prem. You'll have Lukaku, who will probably score loads. And you've got Che Adams, who seems to be playing. Madison, De Bruyne, Ward-Prowse. You've got a solid 6 there. So you can play 4-3-3 or 3-4-3 and either drop in Fornals or Traore each week. And then Chilwell will start occasionally. He should start more than he does.
Yeah.
Mings will start every game week, you'd assume. Ben White, I'd be tempted to keep him. Cooper, yeah, I mean, Leeds defender's always a bit questionable, so I'll probably try and drop him. And Laporte, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Laporte. Might be worth holding on to him for a couple of weeks to see if he starts playing. But I think you've got a solid 9 players there across the bat. You've got Chile, Mings, and Ben White who should start. You've got 3 ridiculous players in midfield in Madison, Ward-Prowse, and De Bruyne who all take set pieces and all play for, well, I guess Ward-Prowse doesn't play for an amazing team because Ings has gone, but he'll get points. And then you've got 3 playing strikers, one of which is Lukaku.
Well,
the only thing I'd be worried about for you is your keepers.
Yeah.
Because Fabianski will probably drop behind Areola. And De Gea, who knows with him and Henderson. He might start, you just don't know. Just don't know whether he might get rotated. No. I think you just got, if you kept those 2, you'd have to assume or bank on some weeks you're having no keeper.
Yeah.
Unless you picked up Cruel from agency for one of them. But it's a risk because they might both start all season.
Yeah, I mean, I already know Adam is sniffing at Fabianski. So maybe I can later if it's not working out, I can try and go down that. But then I'm going to get a weaker trade than probably what I could now. But the players I wanted off him, they were non-movers. So it's like, where do you go from there? So, but I agree with everything you're saying about my team, but it's early days.
So you agree you should win?
Nah, I'm not going that far. I agree.
I
feel like I have a strong midfield and will have strong strikers, which, like we've all discussed last season, was everybody's going to struggle for strikers this season. And that was sort of my goal with the draft was, right, I'm going to focus on my midfield and maybe at least pick up 2 decent strikers and then worry about the rest after that.
And then you played a blinder and picked up the best striker in the game, probably.
Well, we don't know that, but
I mean, I'd be sneaking into Rich's DMs and trying to get rid of one of your 2 midfielders for one of his, and give him Che Adams. Try and improve, or get a defender off of him. Sorry, Rich, picking you apart live for me. But he needs a striker desperately. I guess he's getting Armstrong, but
yeah. So we think that's what he's going to do.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't, he's silly. When we've all told him that, because there is no, unless he wants Jordan Ayew. But
yeah,
no, I think you should. I think on paper you should have the best team, really. So on paper should be up there come the end. I think Will's probably going to be up there with his team. I think Tom's team's really interesting.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I think after the draft, because it's so spread out with people being able to pick up good players and then sort of the rest, almost every team looks like on paper, that they could do well throughout the season because there's that mix
or could do really badly.
Well, yeah.
If you look at Tom's team, Melier or Guaita, both of them will start, and Van Dijk will probably start. Cancelo may not start. You'd assume he would, but may not start. So that's 1. Dave may not start because Chelsea have got so many options in defence. Doherty doesn't seem to be starting. Evans is injured. That's 4 out of his 5 defenders who may not start 1 week. Then he's got Havertz, who was his first pick, which was a bold first pick, who I think should go highly, but first pick was possibly a bit keen, but it got difficult already when Tom was picking, to be fair. But he might not start. Jota might not start. Trossard should start. And Canos should start. So he's now got 6 players out of his midfield and defenders. And then Deeney probably won't start most games because he's getting on a bit. Nacho probably won't start most games. So he's out of his 15, he's on 9 that may not start. And then you've got Bergwijn, who may not start because you don't really know what Spurs are going to do. So out of 15 players, he's got 10 that are strong rotation options. So some weeks he could have all of his players play and have a blinder. other weeks you could end up with 5, well 4 because 2 keepers.
Yeah.
But he's drafted quite interestingly. Whether he knows that or not, I presume he does because he has a spreadsheet for all this sort of stuff. But yeah, I expect his weeks to be high or low. I don't think he'll have in between, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it's game week 1. We've got the whole season ahead. Anything could
all
happen.
his players could play week in, week out, to be fair.
Anything could
I'm
happen.
wrong,
but we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to it. That's the main thing.
We are. I just hope some trades get going. I've been trying to trade with Adam today, but we couldn't quite come to an agreement. We're almost there, but I couldn't prize somebody away from him.
We've not had a single trade yet, I take it.
No, I will trade with Adam tomorrow. We said if there's no trades by tomorrow, we'll trade.
You want to kick it off. You want to get it going.
Well, I'm happy for somebody else to. I was trying to trade with Max, but Will's put him off. So I think that'll be it now. Max probably won't trade this season, unfortunately.
I was just about to say that. We might not get many trades out of Max.
It's Will's. If it's not a trade with Will's going to put him off everything.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But I was trying to get Leon Bailey from him. The Villa player. But
I'm sure we'll get some. We'll get some, Jim. Don't worry. There will be some. Everyone's just
it'll be happening tomorrow.
What's going on? Yeah,
it'll be happening tomorrow. We're trading El Ghazi for Traore if no other trades have been done.
Well, you enjoy that trade, Jim.
We will do.
So what have we got coming up this season? Well, we've got the El Presidente Cup. Second time round.
So that starts in game week 4. So 4, 5, and 6 are the game week. 1 second. Sorry if you can hear the dog lead in the background. Yeah, so 4, 5, and 6 are the group stage. I'm just going to get the table up so we can see who's in each. We don't need
to go through that today. That's fine. I'm just going to do a recap of what we got coming up.
Yeah, we've got that, which will be done by Christmas. So we should be able to present that trophy to the winner at the Christmas party, which Kim and Rich are hosting this year. I guess that might change depending on their circumstances with the dog, but at the moment we're due to have it at Kim and Rich's. And then we've got the Pokal, which will start in, not remember the game off the top of my head, but probably early next season after Christmas. So the formats are staying the same for both this year. So we'll have the group stages for both, and then in the El Presidente, split into two groups of 6, and winning the top 4 will play. So 1, 2, 3, 4 will play 4, 2, 3, 1.
Yeah,
that makes sense. And then it's already sort of defined which team will then play which team after, depending on who's beaten who. And then the Pokal is out of the hat, and it's all in one big league table instead of 2. So it'll be the top 8 after 3 game weeks that get drawn into a hat, so anyone could draw anybody in that one.
Yeah.
And penalties apply to both. So hopefully, I'm just hoping we get a penalty shootout this season.
You really want to see one, don't
you? Yeah, I really want to see one. It'll be so good. The drama. Because the way we've done it as well, you wouldn't know who's won until me and Adam said. Because if they submit their list separately, you don't know who they've put in what order.
Yeah.
And you can try and play it clever. Because if you had someone up against Will, you would potentially not put a good player, your best player, up against first, because you'd assume he'd put Salah first. You might choose someone really crap because you expect to score badly because they're going to lose anyway, potentially, and then put your best player second type thing. So there could be a bit of tactics that comes into it as well. Yeah.
Okay. A lot to look forward to. Yep. And
the DraftCast, of course.
Yeah, DraftCast wise, probably going to start with fortnightly releases. Mainly because I'm away for half of next week, so I can't do next week. So we'll do it fortnightly for now. See how that goes. If I want to do more, we'll do more. I think fortnightly should work quite well.
Weekly or every couple of game weeks.
So it will be just based on what people can do in the week. I'm not going to try and do it around the game weeks. If it fits around a game week, great. But I think I'll try to just get it more on a regular basis for me to help plan out when I'm going to do it and edit it, obviously.
Yeah, it makes it easier.
Because there was some game weeks or some weeks last season where I was doing like 3. It felt like in 1 week because of the way the game weeks are falling. So I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that again.
No, that was chaos towards the end of last season, trying to fit all the games in. Because, as you say, the sort of Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday games.
Yeah, and then it sort of it doesn't help you guys that bring in segments because they're coming so fast. It's like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? So it allows more time to pass. So more game weeks pass, you get more data to do things, or something else might have happened to discuss or whatever. So hopefully it should help you guys with your segments, and it gives you more time to think about what you're going to do as well. So yeah, looking forward to it all. Yeah, I've got nothing else to say. I think we'll wrap it up there. Yeah.
Certainly.
Exciting. Let's get going.
Good luck all.
Yes.
And good luck to Max and Ben as the newbies. Don't trade with Will.
Yeah.
Don't listen to Will in trades.
Yeah.
That's my advice. Sorry,
I think
Will.
that's good advice. That's good advice.
Thank you, Luke.
Anyway, let's round it off. Thanks for coming on, Jim. Pleasure to have you as always. Luke. And yeah, we'll get you on next. Well, I'm not sure when your next one will be on.
Be next year now.
Christmas.
It's every fortnight. Yeah, it'll be January or something.
Yeah, so maybe we'll have to do some double ups where we get 2 people on at once or something. Get some good conversations going.
Yeah, especially around the cup games.
Yeah.
We've got big games.
I have seen something interestingly that we could use. And I think that it would be a good booster to the production of value, shall we say, of the podcast. So I'll keep that to myself for now, but a little bit of a teaser there for everybody. But yeah, thanks for coming on, Jim.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's always good. I always think back to that first episode when that released and blowing everybody's minds. It was great. So I have to thank you for
what is this?
Yeah, last minute doing that with me.
Yeah. No. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Okay.
Also, sorry, Rich, for slating your team. I take it back. It's not that bad.
Yeah, it's game week 1, Rich. I was below you, so obviously my team's worse. But long way to go. Anyway,
cool.
As always, this is the DraftCast, and remember, draft is life. See you next time.